Have you ever wondered what it was really like to live in ancient Egypt? Beyond the pharaohs, pyramids, and golden treasures, there was a vibrant society filled with ordinary people, just like us. They had families, jobs, and dreams. So, let's travel back in time, about 4,000 years, and walk the bustling streets and quiet villages along the Nile to discover the secrets of their daily lives. Ancient Egyptian society was structured like one of their great pyramids. At the very top was the pharaoh, seen as a god on earth. Below him were the elite, high priests, nobles, and powerful officials who advised the pharaoh and managed the kingdom's wealth. These were the people who lived in sprawling villas with lush gardens, enjoying a life of luxury. They had servants, wore fine linen clothes, and feasted on a rich variety of foods. Next came the skilled middle class. This group included scribes, who were highly respected for their ability to read and write. They were the record keepers, the administrators, and the educators of their time. Alongside them were artisan stone carvers, jewelers, carpenters, and painters whose incredible skills brought the temples and tombs to life. Doctors, known for their surprisingly advanced medical knowledge, were also part of this class. While not as wealthy as the elite, they lived comfortably and commanded great respect for their expertise. But the vast majority of Egyptians, the base of the pyramid, were farmers. Their lives were dictated by the rhythm of the Nile River. Each year, they eagerly awaited the Akit, the season of inundation, when the Nile would flood its banks, depositing a layer of rich, black silt. This fertile soil was the key to Egypt's prosperity. Once the waters receded, farmers would plow the fields with teams of oxen and sow their crops, mainly wheat and barley, for making bread and beer. The growing season was hard work under the hot sun, but the harvest was a time of celebration, securing food for the year ahead. So what was family life like? For Egyptians, family was everything. It was the core of society. Marriages were usually arranged, with young people wedding in their mid to late teens. While the husband was the head of the household, women in ancient Egypt enjoyed a remarkable degree of freedom compared to other ancient cultures. They could own property, run businesses, and even inherit the throne. As powerful pharaohs like Hatshepsut and Cleopatra proved, a woman's primary role was to manage the home and raise children, but her legal rights were significant. Children were considered a great blessing. They played with simple toys like wooden animals, dolls, and board games like Sea-Knot, which was a bit like a modern-day game of chess or checkers. Boys from wealthier families might go to a special school to train as scribes, a path to a better life. Most children, however, learned the trade of their parents. A farmer's son would learn to work the land, and a potter's daughter would learn to shape clay. Now, let's talk about food. The Egyptian diet was simple but healthy. The two staples were bread and beer, both made from the wheat and barley grown by the farmers. In fact, workers on the pyramids were often paid in bread and beer. They also ate a lot of vegetables like onions, garlic, lettuce, and beans, and fruits such as figs, dates, and pomegranates. Fish from the Nile was a common source of protein, while meat like beef or poultry was usually reserved for festivals or the wealthy. They cooked in clay ovens and stored their food in pottery jars to keep it safe from pests. And how did they dress? Given the hot climate, their clothing was light and practical. Most people wore simple white linen tunics. Linen, made from the flax plant, was the perfect fabric for the Egyptian heat. Men typically wore a short kilt, while women wore straight, ankle-length dresses with shoulder straps. The wealthy could afford finer, more decorative linen, often pleated and adorned with jewelry. Both men and women loved their accessories. They wore necklaces, bracelets, and anklets made from beads, shells, and for the rich, gold and precious stones like lapis lazuli and turquoise. They also famously wore makeup. Both sexes lined their eyes with black coal, which they believed not only enhanced their beauty but also protected them from the sun's glare and evil spirits. Life wasn't all work, though. Egyptians loved to celebrate. Religious festivals were a huge part of public life, filled with music, dancing, and feasting. They played instruments like harps, lutes, and flutes, and loved to sing and tell stories. These celebrations were a welcome break from the daily grind and a way for the entire community to come together. So, from the farmer tending his fields by the Nile to the scribe meticulously recording history, life in ancient Egypt was a rich tapestry of hard work, family devotion, and vibrant culture. It was a world where society was highly structured, yet family was the anchor. A world powered by the gifts of a great river, where people found joy in simple pleasures and created a legacy that still captivates us thousands of years later. They weren't just characters in a history book. They were real people whose daily lives built one of the greatest civilizations the world has ever known. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey back in time. If you enjoyed exploring ancient Egypt, please hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into history. Let me know in the comments what part of ancient Egyptian life you find most fascinating. See you in the next video.